Bellevue Tigers.
Well, I would certainly agree with that, but again, you get into a situation where each team will get the ball at the 10-yard line. They'll have 4 plays, and of course you want to take it in for the big 6. The FG, the field goal, is not going to do you a lot of good if the other team can get the 6, but each team will get a series. But what I'm saying is I think this toss is very crucial because Bellevue's defense has been very tough, but Bellevue, I think, would like to get the football because they've got, as you said, the big mo.
All right, now we're going to go back and take a look at that Bellevue drive that permitted the Bellevue Tigers to not up this football game. Of course, Bruce Ferguson was very instrumental in that one as he just had an outstanding job. Here's the first one. Pass to Ferguson. He gets out of bounds nicely about the 18-yard line. There's the Bellevue Tigers and Brian Veach, who scored 1 touchdown, and then that all-important 2-point conversion to knot this game at 14 apiece. But Mr. Ferguson, what an outstanding player in this football game. We talked about him before. Here's the next passing situation. Mike Rowe is the quarterback, of course. He fires it to Ferguson, who did a great job of coming back towards the football and gathered the ball in at about the 11-yard line. And that, of course, set up the touchdown. Ferguson, we talked about him right before they scored, and he just did a heck of a job. As there you see the players huddled around Dan Hill. And here's the scoring play. Rowe rolls to the left side, fires into the middle to Kevin Phipps. Touchdown. And that made it 14-12. And then, of course, Brian Veach rambled in from 2 yards out, and that gave that man, Dan Hill, a tie score, 14-14. And Gary Ball, let's take a look at the passing statistics right now for the Bellevue Tigers. Mike Rowe in this football game, at halftime, he was something like 2 for 7. In the second half now, and for the football game, he is 7 for 15, and he has done a very nice job of splitting up the passes to Kevin Phipps, who has caught the ball 3 times for a grand total of 40 yards, and to Bob Ferguson, who has caught the ball 4 times, and Ferguson did an instrumental job of getting the football down the field. Another thing I want to say very quickly, Gary, before we see the people in the toss, is Dean Sitkovich, the man you saw on your screen. Remember earlier in the fourth quarter, that 4th down and 2 situation, Dayton was leading on the scoreboard at that particular time, 14-6. They elected to go for the touchdown rather than kick the 3 points. And that ended up being a very pivotal play in this football game as Bellevue's Tigers defense really held the line and did a good job.
Kevin, the Bellevue Tigers, as you say, are just, and the fans here at the Gilligan Stadium are just a fired up group of folks at this particular time. As you see the captains, that's Kevin Aptad, 63 there, Mike Rowe, number 10 for Bellevue, nearest to your screen, and there's the toss, and it appears that Bellevue has won the toss as they're talking with Kevin Aptad. And there the captain is number 2 for Dayton. That's, of course, is quarterback Rod Cleat. And the other captain is Shannon Downard, who has a big play in this game as he picked off that interception. That really looked like it was going to be the turning point, but no way as the Bellevue Tigers come back with their own offense.
Absolutely, and now we're going to see the referee in this football game, Terry Bond, tell us what has happened. Bellevue, of course, won the toss. But right now, Terry Bond is talking to the Dayton Green Devils players. As Gary Ball told you, this could be a very interesting situation. 4 plays, what can you do? It's just a matter, you would think that Dayton might have the advantage because their offensive line has done so well, pushing off the defense of Bellevue in this football game, but things in the second half have really balanced out, as the score indicates at 14-14.
You can't balance out any more than that. 14-14 scores, you said, Kevin, but this has been an exciting football game, and there's been a lot of plays that you would think would take Bellevue out of the game, as Shannon Downard, as we talked, picked off an interception and had it on about the 45-yard line of Dayton, and that was late in the football game. There was only several minutes to go, and then you come back, and boy, the Bellevue Tigers and Dan Hill, you see them now as you're looking at Dean Sitkovich and his Dayton Green Devils, but looking at the sideline nearest to us, as you look at the Bellevue cheerleaders, the Bellevue Tigers are a very inspired football team at this point. And as we said, it's going to be 1st down and 10 from the 10-yard line. It's going to be 1st and goal, actually. Each team will have 4 plays to take it in for the touch or the field goal.
Absolutely, and let's see what sort of offensive strategy both coaches implore here. You can't get any tougher than this. 10 yards to go. You got 4 plays in order to get that 10 yards, and it may be the biggest 10 yards of the season for the Bellevue Tigers especially.
Kevin, what does Dean Sitkovich do? That pass over the middle to Claiborne's been effective, and his running game with Roberts and also with Jordan and Brock has been very effective. And here's the give to the second man, and he's going to drive all the way down to the 5-yard line. That's Lonnie Jordan, the fullback, number 42. So he gets all the way down to the 6. So the first play garners 4 yards for the Dayton Green Devils. And I don't know about that strategy, giving Dayton the football, as Bellevue won the toss, but they gave Dayton the football.
Yes, they did. Dan Hill perhaps felt that the momentum was going his way, and he wanted to give his offense perhaps a breather since they had just made that very successful drive in order to score, and he thought that the defense would hold the line, and that's what they need to do. Dayton is 6 yards out from pay dirt right now.
Well, they are officially marking it at the 7. It's right at the 6.5, 7-yard line. And there's some offsides, and there's movement on the left side of the Dayton offensive line. We may be able to get that on replay for you, but there looked like there was movement on the left side of that Dayton line.
I have to agree with you, Gary Ball. We're going to see the instant replay one more time as the thing happened before. Now let's see the offensive line on the defensive side. You saw a couple of people in motion in the backfield. Of course, that was Sam Roberts, and indeed it's going to be motion against Dayton, and that will force them back 5 yards. You caught it, Gary Ball.
Well, what I caught, Kevin, was their left tackle for Dayton moved his right hand up. There was some movement. We couldn't get it from our angle from the camera, but there was movement from the left tackle. Dayton, that's going to move the football back to the 12-yard line. And I tell you what, that's a big play for the Bellevue Tigers in this overtime.
You know what we haven't seen much of lately, Gary Ball, as we saw in the first half for Dayton, is that play-action pass. Let's see if now Dean Sitkovich goes back and Cleat fakes the handoff and then rolls out to the right side and perhaps fires it into the end zone.
Kevin, I agree with you. The young man spells his name K-L-E-T-T-E-U. I've been wanting to say Clet too. It's Rod Cleat, and Cleat rolls out to his left, and he gets up to the 10. He gets to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to be hauled back for a loss of 2 yards. And there with the tackle was Kevin Phipps, number 82, with a big defensive play. And Kevin, you've talked about Kevin Phipps. Kevin Rendering has talked about Kevin Phipps, and he really has made some big defensive plays.
He sure has, as well as scoring that last touchdown for the Bellevue Tigers. So he's a player that goes both ways and has done an outstanding job. The ball is remaining to be arrested on the 12-yard line, so it's third down. 12 yards to go for Dayton, so Dayton now has 2 more plays in order to get in that end zone, or Bellevue will stop the Dayton Green Devils.
Well, that movement in the Dayton line was a big play, because if Dayton doesn't get some good yardage on this, they're going to have to kick the field goal. Third down, and the ball's marked at the 12-yard line. Here's a pass over the middle to Claiborne. No good, as it's incomplete. Broken up. And the football will rest at the 12, and you've got fourth down. You got 12 yards to go. You haven't been successful. I guess at this point, maybe Dean's not going to kick it, but I tell you what, I think I might.
I think I might too, but we thought we would kick before when it was 4th down and 2 earlier on in the fourth quarter. Now we're into overtime. Again, you're on NKPN Sports. Thank you for joining us. Dayton is now going to call a timeout and discuss their strategy. It's 4th down. Dayton is 12 yards away from the end zone. Of course, in high school football, here's the situation in overtime. Both teams get 4 offensive plays with which to score. Dayton is now on their 4th and final play. They can go for the field goal and get the 3 points on the scoreboard, or they can go for the touchdown, and if they score, of course, they get the 6 points. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Bellevue still will get the football regardless of what Dayton does on this particular play, so it's a big football game, Gary. It's been an exciting one. And that time, Dayton went to the play. They went to that quick pass across the middle to Claiborne. It was unsuccessful as Bellevue's defense seemed to be ready for it.
Well, what does this do for all the prognosticators about the Class A race, Kevin? You get a club like Dayton who came in just really on fire. They had defeated Ludlow, who defeated this Bellevue squad 6-0, which we brought to the folks on NKPN Sports. And then, of course, Beechwood, they lost their first ball game to Covenant Catholic. You never count them out. But this really throws with Ludlow, Beechwood, Bellevue, and Dayton, really throws this Class A race wide open.
Absolutely, Gary. And you see right now the tee is going to be placed on the field. It looks like Dayton is going to elect to go for the field goal, and this could be very interesting. If they are successful, it will put Dayton on top 17-14 in overtime. But you're right, Gary Ball, about the Class A. It's a mad scramble. Of course, Beechwood is the favorite, but both of these teams have fared very well.
Rod Cleat will be the kicker. It's going to be marked at the 20, and the snap is down. Here's the 30-yarder. It looks like it's going to be off to the left. No good. Bellevue holds, and that's that strategy by Dan Hill. He said, hey, let's give them the football. Let's stop them. Of course, they were aided by an offside penalty or some movement on the Dayton line, but nevertheless, Bellevue now, the ball is definitely in their court.
No doubt about it, and all they have to do is get 3 points out of the situation, and they are victorious in this homecoming game, and they have come back, way back. They were down 14-0 at one point and scored in the third quarter with 8:15 left. On the first offensive drive, Brian Veach went in from 5 yards, and then with 18 seconds left in the football game, 11-yard pass for Mike Rowe to Kevin Phipps scored the second touchdown of the game for Bellevue. The crowd trying to cheer on the Tigers. It's 14 all in OT.
Of course, Bellevue's football, they haven't scored yet, but you look at that NKPN All Sports Trophy Shop MVP, Kevin Phipps, a very strong candidate because of his defensive play. Here's the pitch of Brian Veach around the right side. He may get in. Touchdown, Brian Veach. Brian Veach with the touch, and Bellevue has upset the Dayton Green Devils in overtime, 20-14. And I tell you what, with Brian Veach now scoring that touchdown in overtime, I would have to say Brian Veach would be our strongest candidate. What I was going to say is Kevin Phipps made a strong tackle to stop the Dayton Green Devils on their drive.
Absolutely, but here comes the replay of the winning touchdown in this football game. It's Mr. Veach. He's in for 6 points, and the Bellevue Tigers roll on to victory, 20-14, and there couldn't be any happier team in Northern Kentucky right now than the Tigers. They had been struggling all year long. They were 0-3. They were defeated by the Ludlow Panthers, of course, and then they had a couple of tough football games, but they come out tonight against their biggest rival, the Dayton Green Devils, and come back from a 14-0 deficit and win in overtime, 20-14. And I have to completely agree with you, Gary, with that 10-yard scamper by Brian Veach. He is our All-Sports Trophy Shop Most Valuable Player of the game, along with NKPN Sports.
And, of course, we give a lot of assistance to Kevin Phipps, but our NKPN All-Sports Trophy Shop MVP, Brian Veach. And I would like to say also the Dayton Green Devils, what a remarkable football team Dean Sitkovits has assembled at Dayton. I know November 1st, when these two teams hook up again for that Class A district battle, the Green Devils will be ready. And, of course, that will be at Dayton High School. And tonight we show that the home field advantage certainly played up to its role for the Bellevue Tigers as they win this one in overtime.
Absolutely, and right now Dean Sitkovich has his players circle around, and they're going to do a little extra work. Dean's a little bit unhappy with the way things turned out at this football game, but overall in the season, his team is now 2-2. There you see the players, they're doing a few push-ups, possibly for the amount of points that were scored upon them. That's something that Dean is possibly doing. You might see him count off 20 push-ups because Bellevue has defeated Dayton 20-14. I'm Kevin Rendring along with Gary Ball. It's been our pleasure to bring you this high school football game of the week on NKPN Sports. We'll be back to hopefully talk with Brian Veach, our All-Sports Trophy Shop Most Valuable Player, right after this.